Okay, everyone, we'll start our meeting this evening for January 11th, Beechwood Board of Education. We'll start off with our roll call, Lori.
Yep, Mrs. Berger.
Here.
Dr. Savignano.
Here.
Mrs. Stricker.
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Here.
Reverend Willis.
Here.
Okay, thank you, and welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out. We have some special guests tonight. We have Beechwood football, 2A state champions tonight, so welcome. We only have seniors, but this is good. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you coming out and celebrating with us tonight. And we have the cheerleaders who supported them all the way through to the 2A state championship game. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Stacy.
All right. Well, first of all, I would be remiss before I even started without thanking the KHSAA Board of Controls who made the vote to allow football and fall sports to continue during a time that was a pretty courageous vote. So I know many of us worked from around the state to try to lobby for that, and I was definitely an advocate. Also very happy that the cheerleaders got to take the field as well. So both of those, I really have to start by thanking the KHSAA and the Board of Controls for allowing that to happen. Same with winter sports. Now on the flip side, a couple of personal comments. And number one, just to have the opportunity to do it first in Beechwood's football legacy is a tremendous accomplishment. I mean, tonight we're celebrating 2 firsts, which is even more of a tremendous accomplishment. But with that being said, personally as a fan, as somebody who gets to go to games and just watch, I will say I took a lot of pride and enjoyment, specifically over the last 2 games, of watching, not necessarily the lull but in the middle of the game, because we started out really well on both. So I'm not gonna say the lulls were great, but the comebacks and the opportunity to keep fighting and keep pushing on, really as a superintendent and somebody that gets to oversee programming, was what I took personal pride in. There was never, ever, ever a quit down the stretch, and that really paid off with a great outcome at the end by providing such a storied institution its first 2A state championship. Coach, is there anything you want to add to that?
There they are. There they are.
Yeah.
That's why I'm back here and they're out there.
All
Sit
right.
behind them and they take us to great things. They do it in the classroom, they do it inside and outside the building, and they do it at home. And they're not perfect, but they're special.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. And to all of you, guys and gals, I always appreciate that I never have to go to a game and have to worry about the representation that you provide the institution. And that is such a blessing, and I haven't always been able to say that. So thanks to each of you. Thanks for, as a career, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have 3 just from your freshman year, and that is that's an awesome run. I see Coach waving in the back.
Couple things. Number one, I think, and they can speak more intelligently to this than I can, but I think we started their freshman year, I believe, Nick, Henry, where you at, Henry? How many were there your freshman year? 8? There were 8 dudes. I think we had as many coaches as we had players as we were freshmen. To watch them go from that to that speaks volumes about it. Number 2, this is important that I say this, Dr. Stacy. What you guys do for us is extremely special, especially when you talk to coaches around the state and other athletic programs. What the Board of Education does for us, what the superintendent, what our leadership does for us, because Tanner, how much fundraising you do? Exactly. And there's a reason. What was the different directions. That's very important that you guys do that. I hope like Ken, we're able to continue that. Ms. Wise and I have had many conversations, and we know how difficult the SEEK formula is for us. And for you to continue that, it talks about the character of you guys too. And thank you is the two words that need to be said more than anything. Thank you.
Coach took away my point at B. No, it's
Thank
good.
you.
It can't be understated. I, as a former head coach, I never had transportation paid for, ever. Never had transportation for, much less student insurance, much less many of the other aspects that this board takes care of. So I don't have the understanding that Coach just identified from my past history. So it is definitely I thank you to the board for providing that, not just for football and not just for cheerleading, but for every single sport at the institution, which is absolutely remarkable. Guys, I wish I could bring you up, shake your hands individually, hand you the medals that we have waiting for you, but unfortunately I can't. Nor can the board, so we're going to maintain our social distancing. I'm going to use for the Twitter post tonight, I'm going to use your picture from the field, which is absolutely phenomenal. But at the same time, we still couldn't get past not bringing you and just highlighting, number one, our appreciation for not only your hard work, not only your effort, not only your commitment, but the opportunity you provided us to celebrate a first in our institution. And ladies, that all goes for you too. You're an integral part in our sports programs. You look much better than the football team, with that being said as well. Much better dressed and always more put together. But we absolutely appreciate you as well. Now, we also have a second recognition tonight. And that is an individual recognition, and that's really hard in the sports programming world to get an individual recognition anywhere, much less at Beechwood. But the second first is Mr. Cameron Herget was selected as Kentucky's Mr. Football by the Coaches Association. So Cam, we wanted to bring you tonight as on top of the team for earning such a spectacular honor for not only the program, not only the school, but for you and your family as well. So congratulations, son. Really appreciate it. Anything you all would like to add?
Fantastic year.
It was a good year.
In spite of Kevin.
Yeah.
One of the bright spots.
Yes, one of the bright
Yes.
spots of 2020, absolutely.
And that's it. Mr. Kaiser and myself have had many conversations. Friday night was the one time of our year that seemed normal. And the state championship game was the most normal day of the year because that usually for us has been on the Saturday, so everything seemed normal. So personally, I appreciate that as well. So any other comments? Coach, we'll give you the medals, and then you can pass those out tomorrow, and then we'll recognize it on our platforms, by that picture on the field.
Thank you again.
Yep. Thank you all. And parents, thank you for bringing them.
Yes.
You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We have some really heavy
Riveting
business.
stuff going on.
Thank you all.
But thank you
guys,
all.
gals, congratulations. Appreciate it. I didn't even announce their names. I didn't announce their names.
No, you didn't.
You didn't?
Well, you can bring them back.
Oh, well.
No, they're already out the door.
Yep.
Bye,
Didn't
thank
announce
you.
their dadgum names. That's on me. Sorry.
Take it.
I'll blame it on Noel.
Stealing your thunder for
All
point
right.
B.
Ms. Shoba, I called you up to, and then I
Then he didn't announce the names.
didn't announce the names.
Nope, not ever the case. Okay, do we have any
No.
public comment?
No. Hey, that's two first. That's a big deal.
It really is.
It's a big deal to get one here. Let's get two.
History.
I think the AP comes out tonight. Yeah, it may be tonight.
Okay, so no public comment?
No public comment.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll go to the reorganization of the board, and Dr. Stacy, do you want to take over?
All right, for my one action of the year, I would like to open the floor up for nominations for board chair.
I'd like to nominate Jeannie Berger for board chair.
All right.
Second.
I have a second.
Second.
Any other nominations? All right.
Mrs. Berger? Oh, I guess just
Yes.
Dr. Savignano? Mrs.
Yes.
Stricker,
Do I know?
Ms. Sullivan? Reverend Willis?
Yes.
I
All
don't
right,
know.
I
Are you
will
supposed to
officially
do it?
turn the meeting back over to
What?
our board chair.
Oh, she does. Okay, so our next item would be to open the floor for a nomination for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Noreen Sullivan for vice chair.
I'll second it.
Any other nominations? Okay, Lori?
Yeah, Mrs. Berger? Dr.
Yes.
Savignano?
Yes.
Mrs. Stricker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to the nomination for secretary. Do we have to do both of these separate?
Hmm?
Do we have to do both of these separate? Okay. Take a nomination.
I'll nominate
Dr.
Dr.
Stacy.
Stacy for
I'll second.
board secretary.
I'll second.
Ready, Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Take a nomination for the treasurer. I'll make the motion to nominate Dr. Stacy for treasurer.
No.
Oh, is it
Ray.
Ray? I'm sorry, Ray. Sorry. I thought you were the same. I thought you said the Ray.
I'll second.
Sorry. I'm looking at Noreen. She's looking at me. I'm like, I don't.
I think as
Ray,
a part
sorry.
of that, you would have to stay for the whole term.
Oh, well, let's do it. Let's do it.
I don't think you can break that up in the
I don't
middle of the
think so
year.
either.
Let's lock her in. No. Okay, did we get a second? Okay. All right.
Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Is that it? What about,
It's on, it's.
is
in
it on
the-
here? Okay.
your
Oh,
other
that's, okay,
pieces.
yep. Okay, on to our next item, which is setting up monthly regular board meeting, dates, times. Take a motion to set our regular meeting.
I'll move to set a regular meeting. I don't see the notes on this, but I'm assuming we're doing the same time, 6 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
on the second Monday of the month
I'll second.
in the cafeteria.
Second.
And the only question I have is, has that worked for everybody this past year? Because at 6 o'clock, we moved it up from last time to like 6,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
from
good.
6:30. That's good, okay. All right,
Mrs. Berger?
yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan? Yes. Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to our next item, which is to set the work sessions.
I'll make the
Take-
motion to set our work sessions as the fourth Monday of the month at 6 PM
I'll second it.
In the cafeteria.
in the cafeteria.
I'll second it.
Ms. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker? Ms.
Yes.
Sullivan? Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to item C, finance reviewer. Take a motion to approve Anissa Willis as finance reviewer.
I'll move to approve Anissa Willis as a finance reviewer.
Second.
Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to our next item, which is the 21-22 school year calendar.
I'll
Take-
make a motion to approve the 21-22 school year calendar.
I'll
Second.
And this is basically an identical calendar to what was supposed to happen in the 2021 school year that we're currently in.
Ready, Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to the draft budget. It's not here for a vote. I just wanted to make sure everybody got to see it and got to review. And if you have any questions, to contact Ray or Dr. Stacy. Is there anything you want to add to that at all about the budget, Ray?
The only thing is just the SEEK. I don't know if it's going to go down next year or not.
Mm-hmm.
For the draft budget, I used a 5% decrease.
Okay.
But there's really nothing magical about that.
Yeah.
I
Do we have
haven't
an
heard
idea?
anything
Okay.
either way.
So we don't know for sure what, okay.
And it does have a step increase for all staff. I know some people are wondering about that. That is in place in the numbers that you see.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Our next item is the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
There is one item that is not typical, and that is item D, the emergency paid sick leave. That program was a federal program, ran out on December the 31st of last year. It didn't really seem to be a little problematic that if you got quarantined or held in your home in any fashion and had to miss work, that you got emergency days in the first semester, but if it happened to you in the second semester, it did not. So I have put on the budget that we would continue that program through the end of the year from an equity and access standpoint. We also did open back up to the Cincinnati Reds baseball camp tentatively based on recommendations from the state over the summer.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? Or anything on there? Okay,
Nope, ready? Mrs. Berger?
yes.
Dr. Savignano?
Yes.
Mrs. Stricker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, on to what we've really been waiting for is the superintendent's report and all the construction update and information and everything that you're gonna provide. Hopefully everybody's gotten to see the video so far, but are we gonna show it right now or no?
No, I think we're going to link it to at the end.
Okay.
And we're just going to show some of the renderings as we work through a couple of the items. However, before I go on to that item, I would like to take an opportunity to really highlight the School Board Appreciation Month. I typically write something, but this time I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that have happened since my time here, and then kind of tie that together with my statement about the board, if you all would allow that. So I've been looking over a couple of things that kind of tout different accomplishments lately, and I just wanted to read off a few of yours. All-day kindergarten, 1-to-1, kindergarten through 12th grade, all exterior facilities and many inside facilities completed. Fiscally sound budget with a strong contingency and reserve. Greatly reduced maintenance expenditures while putting out a better return on those investments. And there's no doubt that we spend way less money on maintenance when I arrived. And I believe the visual return is present. We have an aligned curriculum, K through 12, within the grade level expectations at every single grade level, not a simple profile of a graduate. We've moved from a discrepancy model to an RTI model, allowing for much more personalized instruction for our neediest kids. We expanded the preschool program and received our first 5-star rating, first for Beechwood. I created the EDGE program and partnered with over 30 businesses and 5 universities. And really, that was the only first 3 years. Just some highlights. I kind of stopped there because I didn't want to get too crazy. But I really do that to highlight what an effective board and a quality team of administrators out there can do in a relatively short amount of time when everybody works together. And I've never had the opportunity in my career until Beechwood to work with a committed board that worked together to put product on the table without having specific agendas that sometimes competed against each other and caused a little bit of problems for the people sitting in the crowd. All right? Because that has not happened, they've been allowed to work freely and roam freely around the cabin, and the product speaks for itself. So just opportunity not to only highlight, we only do that in a way, but those accomplishments come directly back to you guys and your ability to allow us to do our jobs and support us in the process. So as a superintendent, not only is it Board Appreciation Month, but it's an opportunity for me to say thank you, providing us that work environment. Now, with that being said, probably the largest, most complex thing that we've worked to try to accomplish since at least my time here is the construction project that would take care of the 1927, 1933, and 1936 areas of the building, along with providing 13 new classrooms, 12 new classrooms on the back of the building for the elementary school. Now, this is a very complex project because it is taking place not only during school, but it's taking place with very little prep space for the construction project itself. So there are going to be a couple of contingencies that we have to work through, and that'll be an ongoing process. A lot of people have asked about the timeline, and we think we had it nailed down pretty well. The project should start no later than April, phase 1, April 2021 with a groundbreaking. That will be the 12 classrooms on the back and the stadium entrance. That will run from start to finish no more than 12 months, so we should be putting a completion date of April 2022. Now, before the completion date of April 22, we would want to start the bid process for phase 2 so that upon completion of phase 1 in April, no later than April of 2022, we could start construction and prepping immediately, which would allow for some demolition to take place on the first day students and staff are out of the building at the end of May 2022. Construction time for phase 2 would go from end of May, June 1, 2022, and no sooner than 18 to 24 months. So worst case scenario, we're looking at a move-in of July 1, 2024, and all construction being completed at that time. From the way that we've looked at it, that would complete all facility issues, at least that we're aware of, for Beechwood school system K through 12 from an inside the building standpoint. That would be everything that we had on the LPC when I arrived, completed and checked off, which would be just a phenomenal thing for the community. Now, with that being said, we have a couple of hurdles that I really want to discuss tonight. Before we get to the rendering, and I think Tim is ready to move forward and show that, I just want to say that phase 2, some of the details of phase 2 is dependent upon support from Frankfurt. Now, there's a couple of things that I want the community to understand because facility monies and general fund monies sometimes become clouded. When the Board of Education passes a property tax and identifies it for a construction project, that is termed in our world as a nickel. A nickel becomes restricted funds when it's matched by the state, and up until last session, no recallable nickel had not been matched by the state legislature. In the last session, it was a decision made not to match any more than 0.15 nickels. Well, that would be 3 nickels. As of right now, Beechwood has 4 nickels. So one of our 4 nickels weren't matched. Now, there is a couple of issues that the board has been working through that I'll try my best to explain. Number one, we only receive around a 30% match in our nickels. All right, and that is scaled out by the SEEK formula. So different systems that can get anywhere from 200% match and more, all the way down to us on the bottom end as 0.30% match. So technically, 3 of our nickels is much less than some people's 1 nickel. All right, so from our standpoint, that is an equity issue. From an equity standpoint, we're happy to give money to be redistributed around the state, which 30% of our local tax, 30% of everyone's local tax goes to the state, and then $4,000 roughly per child is given back. Now, in that process, we come up about $2 million short, roughly, $2 million that we send out to the state to redistribute around to systems that don't have the revenue that Beechwood has. And while that is fine for a year-to-year basis and day-to-day operations, it becomes a very difficult process when you're trying to build a building that costs the same in Northern Kentucky as it does, maybe even more anywhere else in the state. So we have been lobbying our local legislators to match that second portion of the local tax, and that is something that we need for that project. We'll continue to try to break that down for our community as we move through the process, but the first thing that I would like to do after that is go into the rendering of the front of the building, and we know that has been an issue that has been debated for some time. Is that up now? Okay, so anyone that's logged on can now see what is the rendering of the new building, not the old building. So when we floated that out to a couple of our community members, they thought we were showing the old building. So I'm hoping that that is a win, because that is actually what the new facade would look like, and it would be the same color brick as the elementary building. So it would try to tie in with the brick with the elementary. The second picture that they will see is the side angle from the front down towards the high school entrance. And the first thing you'll notice in that side view is the courtyard where Ms. Schobel and I are parked tonight is no longer there. That has been filled in. So the new building would take all the open space in between those 3 phases that we talked about, the 1927, the 1933, and the 1936, and it would fill it in. The final rendering is a full side shot that shows the entrance to that space. And when you walk into that space, you can go into the high school student center, which will also, and Tim, do you have the plans, or do you just have the 3 pictures of the rendering? Okay, that's good. I don't have a problem with that because I would I would like to get it firmed up a little bit more and then ask the board to go ahead and be able to initiate in different sequences. The first committee that I would really like to go ahead and have start meeting is the decommissioning committee. And first of all, one of the things that we'll be asking you pretty soon is which board member wants to represent the board on that committee. As well as the second committee that we would like to go ahead and start to put together, which is the planning committee. I would really love to move forward with the plans, And I'll talk through a couple of those elements tonight, but I would really like to move forward with the plans, pass those along to the planning committee, let them, along with our administrators, work through the final details, and then present that to the Board of Education for your all's final approval. This is absolutely not my, or Mr. Vanover's a necessary work of art. And we're going to work with the architects and the building firm to be able to move forward with an estimate. However, the final planning, we want the committee and the board to put their stamp of approval or make whatever changes you see fit. Currently, just to highlight a couple pieces, as Mr. Kaiser, I think, said in the video along with Mr. Lusk, I can't remember which one of them said it, we do have identified space for each one of the minors. And the importance for that is not every one of our students can do an externship or an internship. They just don't have the means, and we don't have the number of spaces. However, when we provide a work-like environment in those different categories for the minors, those business partners can come in and work in work-like setting to simulate projects that they could be doing in a co-op or an internship. So that is one element of this project. Another element, and just to identify for everyone, is the auditorium. It will technically be the lab for the fine arts and the performing arts minors. However, it'll be much more than that for not only each building, but the community as well. Right now it is a double decker, so it's a 2-story, it has a balcony. And right now we've submitted the plans for having a 500-seat total, upper and lower combined. And that'll be roughly in the same spot as the current library. Another element that is in plans right now is a separate elementary library. And again, none of this is final. I'm just kind of giving you the highlights of what we worked through. That will allow the commons and the stage to turn into a true student center for the high school, and would also allow for some of it to still be used for lunch. And I'll go ahead and say, since we mentioned the word, that is our #1 problem that we still haven't all the way solved. Our number of students, since the time I've arrived, I think when I first looked at at our data, it was 1253. I mean, we broke 1,500 if you count Guardian Angel for the first time this year. So with the increased number of students, this cafeteria has maxed out, and that is one area that we're still trying to figure out. I would also point out that it definitely, if you look at your attachment of the plans, it basically takes away the ability, or the feeling of choppiness from all the different 15 segments of this building. It connects everything pretty well, and it also connects the camera systems, the intercom systems, almost all of our internal networking will now be controlled out of the new space. Other elements, it does increase some classroom space for our growth. It also puts out an engineering lab for the elementary, along with several other aspects that will be eventually determined by that planning committee. So I know most people have seen our video, but it just boils down to #1, the board's commitment to take this on, which I greatly appreciate the opportunity to have the ability to finalize this for the community and our students. And #2, continuing to lobby our local legislators to match that nickel, not from a handout standpoint, but from an equity standpoint. That's something that's always taken place, and something that you all counted on when you took the risk to pass this tax. Before we get into any further details, do you have any specific questions for me?
In regard to the committees that you want to form, the decommissioning meeting or committee, what tasks are you charging that committee with?
All right, so the decommissioning committee would be tasked, I think anytime you take down something with the significance of the front facade. I mean, every Beechwood graduate has walked through that building. That's an amazing statement. Since the first class of high school graduates, if I'm not mistaken, was 1935, the fact that we're saying that every single student in the history of Beechwood school system has walked through the halls of that building, that's a pretty significant statement. So and we've discussed this, if we're moving forward with that, I think it's very important that committee works through ways to do that in a dignified and symbolic manner, and that would be their task, would be to work with alumni, specifically our alumni association, and our board, to make sure that nothing happens by surprise. You don't want to just drive by one day and see something happening, and just all kinds of problems. So I would ask them to put that entire process to paper, and from a communication standpoint, not only communicate with our local stakeholders, but our former stakeholders. If you have anything to add, I'd be more than happy to put that into the write-up. And you have time. It doesn't have to be tonight. I mean, that's one reason why we're starting early.
And then the planning.
And then the planning committee, once we move to bids, then, I think it's important to allow stakeholders to have the opportunity to review those plans and provide input from those plans. And I'm talking about all the way from students to stakeholders. So they would be presented with the plans that were sent out to bid, and then.
Are you going to incorporate the LPC with that, or no?
No.
Okay, separate.
No.
Okay.
Completely separate.
Okay.
And then they would provide feedback based on things that they would like to see or not see in those plans. I mean, I think we'll have a really good product to put out, but the more eyes that are on it, the more opportunity there are for people to see something, that we're just not looking at, and that would also include our internal staff at both buildings, as well as SBDM. I don't think those need to be really small committees.
What about like planning on if we put an elementary library or not? At what point do we need to know that information?
We don't need to know that. I mean, the decommissioning committee needs to happen before the planning committee. The decommissioning committee needs to go first. Planning committee can happen in a relatively short amount of time, and you're talking about all this stuff happening over the next 8-ish months.
Okay. So you need one board member. What are you going to try to make the committee up of? Like,
I would like to at least have one board member. I would like to have one SBDM member from each building. I would like to have students from each building, and I would like to have parents from each building.
I think you can have up to 2 board members.
Yeah, I mean,
There's interest.
yeah, I'll sit on there if you want to. I don't think it has to be limited, but I think that would be a minimum request. I just think it's important that the board, specifically the board, the staffs, the SBDMs, and our stakeholders have input, on what this final product is. Now, at the end of the day, you all finalize the plans, okay? You all finalize the plans. But, I think with this being such a big community project, it's nice to have some input and some eyes on it before it comes to us or to you.
okay, so if you all want to just let me know what you're most interested in doing and participating in would be good. When do you want it, like, within the next couple of weeks?
I think as long as I can start having those conversations this time next month,
Okay.
we still have time. We wanted to present a couple of things specifically around the funding. We want to have a conversation, and that's my next thing, just to make sure around
Right.
the financial piece of this. But we want to have something in place before we start.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to think we're doing anything without getting input before we begin. The phase 1 will help us because I don't think most people are as interested in phase one as they are phase two. But trying to get workout schedules, I like to work at least 8 months out. That way we're not rushing and trying to get things done, last minute.
Okay. So on the plans, and I don't have it on here right now, but on the plans that phase one, phase two, and phase three, those were kind of like mixed up a little bit. Are they
Well,
back?
they were numbered differently. We'll have that
Yeah.
fixed before
Okay.
anything goes out.
Okay.
And what she's saying, phase one was was labeled
Number
as three,
three.
and then you're backwards there.
Okay, so does anybody else have any other questions regarding the actual construction project?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. We'll continue to work on the financing piece.
Yeah, I would like to, for all of you all to work on that list that we discussed today. I would really like to start with that this week. I do not want to delay, so we'll continue to have conversations, but I would like to put that into play this week. That way, if we've got to come back and move on to that next step, that gives us a little time. The Senate A&R is meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'll be joining that meeting, and you guys can watch it as well on KET. The way it's looking, this is going to be in and out pretty quickly from what I can tell. I'm not even able to be down there, but from the conversations that I'm hearing and the way it's moving, I do not anticipate this being a long process to be able to work through. So I think we need to be very quick in those steps.
Okay.
And then if we need the community, we have to be able to come back and do that in a pretty quick timeline.
So we just need to start planning.
I need that
ASAP, like-
first request as soon as possible. And then I would like to be able, to just set up, we'll text around on Wednesday morning and determine who's going to make what calls. And then whenever we have those conversations, those calls need to be made on Thursday and Friday at the latest.
Okay.
And I think it's a good thing to engage our stakeholders and just explain the requests that we have. And then if we need to move on to the full community, then we move on to the full community. And that is in the video where I said that you specifically asked that if we need the community's engagement, then we would move forward with that. Hopefully, that's not the case because it is a very small amount of money. I mean, we're talking about $200,000 match that then comes around and gives us, a whole lot of bonding potential that makes this from a very, 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 very tight project to a project that we can do very easily. I'm not saying this because I'm here. The community's put enough skin in the game to have that opportunity afforded to them by our legislative body, especially when it hadn't always been done in the past. Other questions? Okay, so either way, buckle up. We've already got back from the state. We're getting ready to put out for bids. Those bids will go out. That'll be the March. You will have options presented to you at the March board meeting. So you will pick a bid in March, and then they'll have the rest of March or beginning of April to start that breaking ground. So from there until July of 2024, we're going to be
Under
a
construction.
construction body. So I hope our maintenance crew has enjoyed the kind of full year of no construction, but this one's a doozy. And then there'll be a lot of planning. I mean, a lot of meetings, a lot of planning on how to continue school with one drop-off and one pickup. And now we're hoping to be able to expand that into the senior lot to take more off of the city, and we will include the city, invite a
was-
city representative.
My next question, because they have asked a couple times to be involved in that planning process and
They're
willing
more
to,
than welcome.
willing to help with that planning process.
I will take all the people that are willing to help make a decision that I can take. Because it won't, no,
We just
regardless
need
of
to
what,
transport them from somewhere.
regardless
There's
of
just no
what we
way.
do, it won't be a fun year.
No, it won't be.
But after this year, it could still be way more productive.
It'll be so nice, though. I mean, look at those plans. That's the payoff. You got to just keep thinking about that. So,
Well, and I keep thinking that it would provide a sustainability for the institution for the next 40 and 50 years.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all I got to think about to continue to move forward. And there are times, I told in one conversation today, there are times that I want to walk away from this project because of its complexity. But all I've got to do is remember that this provides a sustainability model for 40 to 50 years. And what that means is when that bond comes off, not only will this building last that long, but when that bond comes off the elementary school, that money can be used to repurpose and move forward with the renovation of 300, 400 hallways, right? So, you now have a plan to move forward long-term where my kids' and their kids, if they're still in this area, have the ability to not worry about the institution. So that's a really big deal. And I would like, my one request is that on top of the financial piece that we've discussed and planned on, I would like you to ask people, specifically if they've seen the rendering. The first thing that I need to know is if the community's happy with that visual that we put out in the video and tonight. I mean, that's number one. Are you happy with that look from the front and the side? Because if that's the case, then we can at least check that off and move on.
Well, I think for a lot of alumni and the community in general, that was the biggest concern. Is it going to look the same? So I think that look is, it's just the inside space that's going to be a little different, but
Yes.
from the outside definitely looks good.
That, and then the second thing, that list that we discussed, if any of you all have, if you'll send that to me, I can compile it, and then we can have that as a group on Wednesday morning.
Okay.
Those are my two things. And then
Okay.
when we get down to other business, can we also, because we usually discuss the other committees and who's going to continue in those, just so we know.
Which committee?
Like
Oh,
title.
like title, okay.
All
yeah,
those
Yep.
Things that you all sit on, whether you're comfortable and want to continue.
Okay.
right.
Anybody else have any other questions on construction?
No.
We don't have any more details about Plan 2 than have been presented in the visual, right?
Say it one more time, Anise, I'm sorry.
There aren't any more details about Phase 2 except what we've seen in the visual.
No, we have not moved forward with, the schematics that you see are much more detailed in Phase 1, because those are what's been put out to bid. I will not move forward with much more without the committee being put in place and then getting feedback before we start. I would like to have a meeting to get feedback, then move forward with asking the architect to do a more final version.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, good question.
Anything else? Anyone else? Okay, let's move on with our next item, making the agenda part of the official board minutes. Take a motion.
I'll make a motion to make the minutes part of the general, I'll make a motion for that, sorry.
Second.
Tangled up in my mask.
Okay, I'll second.
Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Salvagnano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Reverend Willis?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries on to other business. So committees.
Yes, I know you're on Title IX.
Correct.
Right, and I just want to we usually kind of double check who's on what. I also need someone to do the LPC, because that's coming up as well. This summer, are they still gonna make us meet that same timeline, Brian, even though, so? Okay, so we get to push back because of the construction project. Okay, I'll still need someone to go ahead and if we can identify for the LPC, and we can talk about those later. I just want to know, you're on alumni?
I'm on alumni. Last year I served on Title IX, but if you want to flip
Okay,
it back to
well-
Ron.
Well,
Well, I think didn't two people
We were, there was
last
two
time?
of us.
yeah.
Oh, I was on the-
So
Okay.
can both of you all continue
Okay.
that?
Yep.
All right, and you are also on alumni, right? Okay. Are you on?
Okay, wait.
I was on Title IX also,
Are you on? Okay.
but I can do whatever you need me to do.
Okay, who's going to be on Title IX? Ron and Melanie?
If
Correct.
you want to do it, I'm fine.
I'm fine with whatever you guys tell me what to do, I'll do it.
Or if you're
Yeah,
interested in
I
Title
don't mind
IX.
as well.
Okay, all right. There's a couple of things, so I'm gonna start trying to make at least a bi-weekly phone call with you. So maybe I can go ahead and start. There's a couple of things that I've been thinking about, so I'll just ask you in those phone calls. But is there anything else that we have that's official that you
Oh.
guys?
The LPC, Title
We used to have a
IX.
safety committee, but I don't think.
Yeah, we had a safety committee at one point, but then we also had but it's been a while.
Yeah.
I know Brian was running that safety, for a little while during some of that process. But, so we're good. Who's going to serve on the LPC?
I did it last time, I think, so I'm happy to do it if, doesn't matter, or
You tell me.
either one.
Yeah.
Or we can
It might be
do-
good for Noreen on
get
that
on
one. Since it's not going to be the construction, it's going to be post. That'd be good. Okay. I'll touch base with you
Are we not doing
on the
safety
others.
committee?
Huh?
Not doing safety committee?
No. No. I mean, you can go ahead and do the planning and the decommissioning if you want. I mean, just so I know who really wants to be on one of the others.
Oh, there's calendar committee.
Huh?
Calendar.
Oh,
committee.
yeah, calendar committee.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've been
right.
on that.
Have you been
Oh,
on
yeah.
that?
Who was on calendar last time? Noreen?
I was.
Noreen.
You want to do calendar? Does anybody want to?
Why don't you put NISA on calendar committee?
Calendar?
Since you're gonna do the LPC, because that's pretty intensive.
Okay.
Okay, what about the planning and decommissioning? I know Melanie said she wanted to do planning.
I'll do
And then-
decommissioning.
Decommissioning?
Do we do two on both?
I think
And
we
then
should.
Anissa do decommissioning? And Ron, did you say planning also?
Decommission.
Said decommission.
Decommissioning, oh, sorry.
Jeannie?
Decommission.
Yeah, okay. And then what about another one for planning?
I can do it if nobody else wants to.
You want to do planning also?
All right. All right,
Who's on them? Say those again?
Calendar, Anissa, planning,
Right.
Melanie and Noreen,
Melanie and
decommissioning,
Noreen on the planning, and
Yeah.
decommission is Ron
and Anissa.
and Anise. All right.
Will alumni also be on that? Okay,
Yes,
so,
I'll
okay.
be involved too from
Okay.
alumni.
oh yeah, Carol's already, made sure that she wants to be on both.
And so have has this
She's probably
information-
watching. Carol, we put you on both.
So the photos that we have here attached, will they be in the alumni, like in the?
Legacy?
Legacy magazine?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
She sent out an alumni newsletter today with the video link.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, the legacy should have all three photos. My letter focuses on that some as well. So I think that the alumni should be pretty well informed on both the timeline and at least the visual. Now, the inside can change a little bit, but I mean, I think we've got the basic layout at least.
Lori, you have all those? Mm-hmm. Or I can,
Yes.
you have it all?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, and does anybody have any other business?
No.
No.
Okay, well, I would like to thank Dr. Stacy for the kind words on the board, and I just want to add that our job is made so much easier by all of you, so I want to thank you all for the wonderful job you do working with us and making this vision a reality, so thank you. Yeah, it's just not a board thing. It takes everybody, and it does take a village, and it truly is a village, so I want to thank everybody for that, so.
I will second that for sure.
True
That's
words. Good, a good team.
Yep.
Good team. Good team.
And I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything?
And Ray submitted her resignation officially.
What? No,
Okay,
you're not allowed.
I just want to, I want to point this out. I want to point this out. In 21 years, it's the first time I ever received a resignation on a sympathy card. She sent a sympathy card
I'm
with a
sorry.
resignation attached to it.
I'm sorry
I
for your
might
loss.
have had one or two words for her
Just
in
one
that
or
moment.
two? Just one or two?
In that
It
moment.
says, I'm so sorry for your loss.
That's what it said.
Well, doesn't that lock her, she's the one, treasurer, doesn't that lock her in for like another commitment?
All right, it should lock her in for something.
Yeah.
But,
Just saying.
that is something that I hated to put on the personnel. That team is, she's part of that process, and that's not going to be an easy job to replace.
She still has time to take it back.
I did, and when you're playing golf, you can press. I did press a little bit to try to make that happen, but she still made me put it on the personnel report. So we'll continue that, but I think 20 years, you said you've been here 20 years? Yeah, that's a long time. It's a long time. So that will post, if we can't change her mind, that will post on February 1st.
I know, do we
I-
have to?
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm thinking, thanks.
I called Jeremy, I asked him some details. He said he couldn't confirm or deny either way. Is that left open to interpretation? But that was a hard one to,
Yes.
that was a hard one to get, so.
But
We're not
clever,
gonna talk that
Ray.
yet, but it was a hard one to sign.
Oh, you signed it?
I did, I did. Someday, if the good Lord lets me hang around long enough, somebody needs to sign mine. And there's nothing wrong with turning a chapter
Yeah, that's
and
true.
having a different opportunity. And I do think there's a hankering to see some girls and, some other opportunities that live different places. And, that's
But you're gonna be on the hiring committee though, right?
I mean, I'll give input if you want.
Yeah.
As long as she can find somebody, she'll
Yeah,
be
no.
on it.
Right, just gotta
anyway.
find it. No pressure. Okay. All right, anything else? Last call.
All A tournament here on Wednesday and Friday. And if we win, we play Saturday at Villa for the basketball team. So just
Okay,
a heads
which
up on that.
boys or girls?
Girls is Wednesday and Friday as well. Oh, okay, they've already, okay. All right. Yeah, they played St. Henry. Is that who they?
New Calf.
Newcat. They beat Villa and lost to Newcat.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Okay, take them.
Again, if the list, and then we can, I'll send a text out on Wednesday morning.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Salviano?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker? Ms. Sullivan? Reverend Wells?
What do you want us to do, like email you names and then you consolidate?